soon. Any second. There we go. I'm now recording. That's the sound of the recording. Okay, so in terms of our agenda today, I want to start by having you go back and looking at a moment in the text. And it's that fight between Cal and Beth on page 47. And let me call this up for folks at home too. There we go. Take a look at page 47. Fight between Cal and Beth. What does she want, and what might that look like? Folks in the room, you are going to be, if you wish, you can talk with each other about it. And I want to give you about 5 minutes to just kind of process this moment within the text. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn this off, switch this over again. Now we got this dog calendar. If you've just recently joined us, we're looking at page 47 in this fight that Cal and Beth are having. What does she want, and what might that look like? About 2 more minutes to kind of process your thoughts. And I know we've talked about it a little bit, but So what are we working with here? What does she want? Yeah. Normalcy. Is normalcy possible? Normalcy is not possible. Does anybody see normalcy as possible? Is normalcy at all possible? Yeah.
I think so, but it requires a lot of ignorance.
A lot of ignorance?
Yes.
Like, what do you mean?
If you say normalcy is not possible, then I think one of the main reasons why is because everything like happened to them. So in order to sort of try and achieve that, like which ones they'll sort of have to decide and sort of ignore the greater meaning of what's happened to them.
Oh, okay. Not possible. Willful ignorance, right? That's what we call that.
Yes.
Any other ways that it might be possible? And Paige, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say it's probably not possible. Just like everyone has kind of a different idea of what normal is.
Right.
So it's like, how do you find it?
So her perception of normal is going to be different from Cal's and from Conrad's, right? We are all different beings. So different people have different perceptions on what that is. Okay. Any other ways that it might be possible, or you know, how do we define normal? I guess that's another question. Yeah.
If they like go through, I mean, like it's not gonna be like back to how it was before, but they can achieve some sort of normalcy if they work through their issues.
Yeah. So possible by willful ignorance, or to find new normal, right? So what is normal now? Can we, I don't know, can we guess? Do you think we can guess or identify what normal might be for Beth? What might normal be for her? And I want you to think about the conflicts that they're having. The first one that she and Cal are having. The first is about that Christmas trip. And certainly we've got a lack of communication going on. But in terms of the Christmas trip, when Cal brings up his concern that Conrad would miss too much school, how does Beth respond to that? He'll miss too much school. And so Cal says, or Beth says what? Anybody remember? I think it might be within the same chapter. Nope, it isn't.
It's in chapter 4.
Could be. Why? What did you find?
No, I just remember that that's the, where it's sort of the argument about the Christmas trip starts. I'm just trying to look there.
Yes, page 27. 27 and 28.
Yeah, that's where it starts. We can't go in the middle of December, you have to miss a week of school, and another week in January, you'd be 2 weeks.
And what's the alternative? What does she present?
Meet us there when school got out, you could fly back by himself.
So what does she really want?
She wants her to go on,
Well, and
then, Cal.
right. So, and if you go to page 29, right in the middle of the page, what's the matter? She whispers. Is something the matter? No, nothing's the matter. Then why can't we go? You know how good it feels to get away. All the wonderful places we've been, Spain, Portugal, Hawaii. I know it's a lot to ask, Cal. I know we have expenses. It's not the money, but I need it. I need to go. I need you to go with me. What does she need?
Needs to just be away.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Christmas trip represents being away. And the other element, what is, she needs to be away with whom?
How?
With her husband. She still needs to figure out kind of who they are. There's an uncertainty as to who they are. And I want you to kind of keep an eye on this other new conflict that arose last time about the car. This conflict that they're having with the car. She's not, she doesn't want to, she's going to let him kind of make the choice in terms of the Christmas trip. And she's going to let him make the choice about the car. Fine, do whatever you want. But when we hear fine, do whatever you want, whether you're, someone's romantic partner or someone's child, what are you actually being told?
You don't have a choice.
Don't do it. Yeah, there's no choice here. There's no actual choice here. And that's something else that I want you to keep in mind as we kind of move forward through the text a little bit more. Again, thinking about the fact that Beth does not get a voice, I want you to think about how she may be struggling to please her husband. We do things to try to please our partner. And sometimes that puts us in a place where we lose kind of who we are. So we're going to shift gears briefly. And I want to take a look at this transcript. We tried listening to it during first block. In the current setup, I cannot figure out how to play audio, unfortunately. So if you guys want to call up your agenda for today. I am going to try to make it as big so people can see it. I want to take a look at this transcript from a radio story. Brain maturity extends well beyond the teen years. Your brains are not done cooking. They're not finished yet. Most of the privileges and responsibilities of adulthood are legally granted by the age of 18. That's when you can vote, enlist in the military, move out on your own, but is that the true age of maturity? A growing body of science says no. Critical parts of the brain involved in decision making are not fully developed until years later at age 25 or so. So in some cases, even a little bit later. In a moment, we'll hear about how child advocates are hoping to use this research to change laws about foster care. But for now, we've got this person on the program. It's nice to be here. Is this idea that the brains of 18-year-olds aren't fully developed a matter of settled science? Yes. Car rental companies got to it first, but neuroscientists have caught up, and brain scans show clearly that the brain is not fully finished developing until about age 25. So, maybe a little bit before and sometimes a little bit after. So on average, about the age of 25. To not be too clinical in the spin that we put on this, what parts of the brain are we talking about, and what changes happen between the ages of 18 and, let's say, 25? So what more is there to occur? So the changes that happen between 18 and 25 are a continuation of the process that starts around puberty. And 18-year-olds are about halfway through that process. And some of us are late bloomers. I didn't need to start shaving until I was 18. And I didn't really need to start shaving every day until I was about 19 or 20. 18-year-olds are about halfway through that process. Their prefrontal cortex is not yet fully developed. It's the part of the brain that helps you to inhibit impulses. And so your impulses are those things that, those opportunities or those moments where, your parents ask you why you did something. And you're like, I don't know. And it's not really like that, but it's a sincere, I don't know why I did that stupid thing. I recognize it was stupid. I don't know why I did it. I have no good explanation. And I know that I have no good explanation. I couldn't help myself. It couldn't be helped. So that in the inhibition of impulses, that's called inhibitory control, and to plan and organize your behavior to reach a goal. The other part of the brain that's different in adolescence is that the brain's reward system becomes highly active right around the time of puberty, and then gradually goes back to an adult level, which it reaches around age 25. And that makes adolescents and young adults more interested in entering uncertain situations to seek out and try to find whether there might be a possibility of gaining something from those situations. So this is important. The physiological changes in the brain. Hi.
Hi.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are the physiological changes in the brain in terms of the development of young people as significant and impactful as the cultural changes and environmental changes that they go through vis-a-vis peer pressure, things of that sort? Well, actually, one of the side effects of these changes in the reward system is that adolescents and young adults become much more sensitive to peer pressure than they were earlier or will be as adults. And that's something that I'm seeing at my house right now with my 14-year-old. So for instance, a 20-year-old is 50% more likely to do something risky if two friends are watching than if he's alone. Is there a difference between males and females with regard to their brain development, particularly in this age category? Females' brains develop about, on average, 2 years earlier than male brains, so you're more likely to have a late developing male brain than female. So when females say they're smarter than guys, it's really true, especially around the age of 15 or so. Yes. So good on you. What does this mean? In a minute, we're going to be hearing from some advocates who think that the foster care system needs to be changed, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things that deprived childhood causes is problems with prefrontal cortex function. And so by deprived childhood, it's not necessarily deprivation, it's also traumatic experiences. So somebody who's had an unstable home life is more likely to have trouble in planning and organizing behavior and with inhibiting impulses than somebody who's had a little bit more stability. So let's take a look then at adding grief into the mix. So if you would click that link, and I'm going to have you read that on your own. And think about our characters and what each one of them, so all three of them, Beth, Conrad, and Cal, what are the things that they are dealing with? So keeping it simple to the 5, we are not certainly mental health experts, but we certainly all have mental health. What is it that each of our characters might be experiencing? Is it fair to say that a desire for normalcy is denied?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the only way to really do that is blissful ignorance, where you deny the realities of what's happening.
Okay. Is that all Beth is struggling with? Or is it fair to say that she might be angry too?
There's definitely some anger in the arguments.
Yeah. Do you think she's projecting? Where would Cal be? Any idea where Cal would be? Thoughts on where Cal might be?
Maybe bargaining.
Yeah, I think so. Especially, we look at that car, right? And the desire to, and the bargaining is trying to almost bargain with Conrad to try to make things normal. But Conrad can't do that, right? Conrad can't make things normal. And so there's that desire. The bargaining is almost like, the fixing. I don't think anybody's certainly none of them are at the acceptance stage. Although that moment that Conrad had last class with thinking about his brother and the ski trip and the fact that he did not feel pain. He was expecting to feel pain and he didn't. Suggests that, he is moving forward somehow. He's recovering. He's experiencing some recovery there. But I think it's fair to say that he's still in depression, and we want to keep an eye on that advice that Berger gave him. Do you remember the advice that Berger gave him in the last session? What's that? Get mad. Feel your feelings. Express your feelings. Yeah. Not that we want to get mad all the time, but yeah. All right. So don't forget that life, like grief, is not linear. Okay. We need to keep that in mind. We're going to skip these other 2 articles for now and kind of see where we end up after this next chapter, kind of how much time we have. The other class, they were a little bit behind us, and I don't want to get too far ahead of them, and we certainly did not look at those 2 things. So page 105, we've got a big shift that occurs here. Chapter 13. The Christmas tree lot has a sign over it, Furs by Lenny. From 2 loudspeakers mounted on the pay booth, canned music blares forth, "O come all ye faithful." Cal clenches his gloveless hands together against the cold, stamping his feet. So there's a book by Thomas Foster, and it is called How to Read Literature Like a Professor. And he's got chapter titles in there that are easy to kind of tell what it is that he focuses on in each moment. And one of them is Geography Matters. And it'd help if I could spell geography. I don't know when I was what is that? What is that? Where's the eraser? Here it is. Kind of embarrassing. Called Geography Matters, and it's followed by So Does Season. And so that's why I'm telling you what geography matters is. So in other words, season matters too. And so when you're reading a book and they identify the seasons, the specific seasons, sometimes it matters. Sometimes it's important. Okay? And so that's something that we want to kind of keep in mind. It is Christmas season, it's winter time. We want to watch that. And there's another one another chapter where he titles it, It's More Than Just Rain or Snow. And so we've got, kind of some snowy ground here. So we might be thinking about kind of how these are maybe symbolic or metaphoric, these elements. How's this one? The lot man lifts a tree from its hole, shaking the snow from its branches. No, not tall enough, Conrad says. The man looks at Cal. Tall as you are, Sonny, he says, dropping the tree back into its hole. You want taller? I got taller. Over here. Come on. He's built like a lumberjack. Lenny himself, with a red and black checked lumberjack shirt tucked into mud-colored overalls, his forehead and ears banded by a purple knit ski shield. They follow him, Cal stepping carefully on the path of bark and pine needles, trying to keep the mud off of his shoes. He eyes the lot man's thick rubber boots with longing. How about this? No, Conrad says, too scrawny. The man gives Cal a faintly patronizing smile, showing him what he thinks of fathers who let their sons run things. He points out a huge blue spruce, dense and full. Okay, how's that one? That's terrific, Conrad says. Hey, that's it. Cal issues a feeble protest. It's 12 feet tall. You guys live in a church or what? Conrad is busy surveying it from all sides, a smile on his face. Cal reaches for his wallet. Okay, how much? $20. Man, $20 for a 12-foot tree? Oh, you cannot find anything like that. This is clearly, decades ago, 40 years ago. 12-foot tall tree now that's like that, that's at least $100. Easy. So he whistles. Thought this was a buyer's market. Not this year. The lot man is cheerful, forgiving. Pay at the booth. Me and Sonny here will tie it on your car. You guys be sure and let me know when the services are, you hear? Weightless with joy, he watches while his son assumes the burden of this small decision. At dinner tonight, Conrad had told him of his plans for the kind of Christmas they should have this year. Just greens and pine cones, nothing fancy, lights on the tree, but no ornaments. Popcorn, cranberries, maybe a few candy canes. How does that sound to you? Sounds great, Cal had said. A few deft strokes and the picture had been painted, as easily, as confidently as Con had scanned the menu and ordered hamburger, onion rings, chocolate malt, banana cream pie. Just last summer, Cal had sat with him at a lunch counter near the hospital. He had stared at the single-sheet bill of fare enclosed in plastic. After 10 minutes, he had passed it over to Cal with a weary sigh. You order, okay? I can't decide. So I want you to be thinking about, what does choosing represent? The ability to choose. What does that represent? And what does it represent? It makes me worry a little bit because I took my daughter to get her first Pfizer shot yesterday, and I was like, well, let's go out to dinner, okay? And she said, sure. I said, so where do you want to go? I don't know. What are you in the mood for? I don't know. What do you want to go to dinner? Well, yeah, that'd be nice. Well, I want to take you where you want to go. And so it concerns me just a little bit. How come? What does choosing represent? Responsibility? Good. Yes. Anything else? What was it why did Conrad go to Burger? What did he say that he wants, Paige? Control. It represents control. And I want my 18-year-old to feel a little bit of control over her life. She may not be able to drive yet. She may not have her driver's license yet, but I want her to have some sense of control. They drive through Evanston, decked out in all its Christmas finery, fake garlands of pine wrapped around lampposts and colored lights strung across the intersections. It does not have the air of fantasy, of fairyland that covers Lake Forest. It's too big a city for that. Its streets are too dirty. Its buildings too coarsely utilitarian. Yet there is a confidence and completeness about this town that Cal loves. Too many places he's been seem tainted with that anxious atmosphere of unreality, a one-sidedness of conception, too perfect to be believed. Aspen, Indianwood, Florida, exotic and comfortless, like movie sets. I tried to let you pick it out, Conrad says. We would have ended up with the worst one on the lot. You always want to buy some tree you feel sorry for. Never mind, Sonny, Cal says. When we're stringing popcorn and cranberries till our fingers fall off, you remember who did the picking. Heat curls about their ankles, as thick as water. It goes up easily, fitting easily under the cathedral ceiling in the family room, dominating the space before the window. That sentence, it goes up easily, fitting easily, that repetition of easily. What do you make of that? Ordinarily, that's bad writing. You want to vary your word choice. Why does she emphasize the ease?
Maybe because doing something like this, having like a normal Christmas is easy for them.
Well, and so, yeah, there's a connection there with that notion of normalcy, right? That notion of normalcy. Before kind of moving, well, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that notion, that idea. Crisp blue-green lace splashes across the snow white of the draperies. I think it's silly, Beth had said that morning. We've got a perfectly good artificial one in the basement. The needles will absolutely embed themselves in that white shag, Cal. What is she all about?
Tidying up.
Appearance, making things perfect, right? Yeah, she's going to freak. She is going to freak. It's probably flat and limp as hell. We haven't used it for 5 years. Do you realize it's been that long since we've had a tree? We're always on our way to somewhere a week before Christmas. She had shrugged, turning away. Do what you want. But there it is again. Do what you want. You're going to do it anyway. Right? So keep, an eye on her. She'd had a meeting tonight anyway. So when Conrad met him at the office after his session, Cal had suggested dinner out instead of the TV dinners waiting for them at home and the tree shopping expedition. Now he lies on his back as he gives the screws in the stand a final tightening. Conrad holds on to the trunk. Some of the lights have burned out. I'll pick up some extra bulbs on my way home tomorrow, Conrad says. The front door opens, and a gust of cold air greets them. Moments later, she joins them. Was that an audible? Sounded like an audible. Geography matters. So does season. Front door opens and a gust of cold air greets them. Moments later, she joins them. Is she the gust of cold air? How do you like it, Cal asks. He looks up through the branches at her. A splash of orange skirt and paler orange blouse. Those graceful, pretty legs. I like it, she says. It's lovely. He feels a sudden rush of love for her. Gets to his feet, floating and weightless again. How was your meeting? It was interesting, she says. She goes to the bar at the opposite end of the room. I think I want a drink. How about you? Sure, here, I'll make them. We've got popcorn and cranberries to string, Conrad says to her. You want to help? She looks at him for a long moment. Of course. So what happened that was so interesting? Cal hands her the glass. Scotch she likes in the evening, short and no ice. She swirls the oily liquid, looking down into it. Not what happened, she says. What I heard. From whom? From Carol Lazenby. Something is wrong. The lunch that day? He should have told her, probably, but he hadn't thought anything about it. Just a lunch. Nothing to tell. It's not my news, she says. It's Conrad's. Maybe he should tell it. Tell what? Cal asks. Conrad is looking at her warily. It was rather embarrassing, she says, not looking at either of them. Carol thought I knew. After all, why wouldn't I know? It happened over a month ago. What happened? Why isn't she just out with it? Why's she building up this tension? Any thoughts on that? Do you think she's doing it on purpose? Yeah. Carol thought I knew. After all, why wouldn't I know? It happened over a month ago. What happened, he asks. Dad, Conrad says, I quit the swim team. Quit? Why? And then it hits him. The nights he sat waiting for 6:30. The newspaper in front of him, unconcerned. He knew exactly where his kid was. At practice, riding home with Joe in the car. A month ago. And another picture of Mr. Knight and Mr. Helwarth at the meeting. They suggest that he call the counselor's office on Fridays for a progress report. Just so we stay on top of things, Mr. Jarrett. He had rejected that plan immediately. No, it was too much like spying. A month ago. Where have you been every night, he asks. Nowhere, Conrad says. Around, the library, mostly. I don't get it, he says flatly. Why didn't you tell us? I was going to. I've been meaning to. I'm sure you would have told us before the first meet, Beth says. When is it? Next Thursday? I'm sure I would have told you, Conrad says, if I thought you gave a damn. And the wellspring of anger erupts, engulfing them all. So there's a hint of that lack of inhibitory control here. Okay? Keep in mind that Berger did advise him to go ahead and get angry. And this is it. This is his moment. But she seems angry too. And she's been angry for a while. What the hell does that mean? Cal demands. Never mind, she says. It's meant for me, isn't it? I wish I knew, Conrad, why it is still so important for you to try to hurt me. Still so important for you to try to hurt me. Well, that's interesting. What is it that has her so particularly resentful toward Conrad? Boy. So certainly we've got the suicide attempt, right? She views that as an attempt to hurt her. And everything that we know about suicide is not about that at all. Okay? So there's something else that may be going on here, and ultimately, she believes that that is part of it. But there's something else that she is angry about, and she may be still angry from way back, way back. The notion of grief and what it does to us and how it changes us. She was probably around 25 years old when she had the children. So her brain's still developing. And if we go back to, let's see here, chapter 11. Yeah, page 89. Take a look at page 89. And I want you to be thinking about this, this relationship between Cal and Beth and the struggle between the two of them. Are you noticing anything else about the two of them too? He seems to focus an awful lot on her appearance. Have you noticed this? How many of you noticed it? Often talking about how beautiful she is, as if she's just simply like a trophy wife, right? And so what is it that he actually loves about her? Is it just her appearance? Is that all it is? Is that the only commonality that the two of them have together? They get married at a time where when you get married, the expectation is that you will then have children. She's all about keeping up those appearances, as ultimately is he, and kind of fulfilling the expectations of your partner. So she probably has children because she expects that that's what she wants, that's what she expects her husband wants. So look at page 89. Last paragraph. On the way back to work, he thinks. Carol had said that Beth never lets herself get trapped. Not strictly true. He can remember a period of their lives when she felt distinctly trapped. So that adjective is important. When Jordan was 2, with Connie toddling around after him at 10 months. We looked at this last time. Both of them spreading havoc in that tiny north side apartment. Those first 5 years just passed in a blur, he's heard her say gaily at parties. But he remembers them. And he remembers the scenes, her figure, tense with fury. With fury. And that's part of the anger of grief. When you have children, your relationship with your spouse changes. Unalterably. Forever, just as losing the child does. Furiously. Lost my place. I hate it when that happens. Tense with fury as she scrubbed the finger marks from the walls, bursting suddenly into tears because of a toy left out of place. So imagine how she's going to be with these, Christmas needles, Christmas tree needles. Or a spoonful of food thrown onto the floor from the high chair. And it did not pay him to become exasperated with her. Once he had done so, had shouted at her to forget the damn cleaning schedule for once. She had flown into a rage, railed at him, and flung herself across the bed in hysterics. So rage, fury, tension, all these things marks the idea that possibly having children, his existence, is that a problem? Does she regret having had children? And that, certainly is nothing that would be Conrad's fault. And she knows that. She would know that. An intellectual person. That's the problem, though, with grief, is that we're not thinking frequently when we're struggling with grief. So go back to 111 or 110. If I thought you gave a damn. What the hell does that mean, Cal demands. Never mind, she says. It's meant for me, isn't it? I wish I knew, Conrad, why it is still so important for you to try to hurt me. Hurt you? Me hurt you? Listen, you're the one who's trying to hurt me. And how did I do that? By making you look like a fool, so again, appearance, in front of a room full of people? Did you have to sit there getting those looks? I mean, does it just come down to that? Her embarrassment How did I do that? By making you look like a fool in front of a room full of people? Did you have to sit there getting those looks? Poor Mrs. Jarrett. Oh, the poor woman. She has no idea what her son is up to. He lies and lies, and she believes every word of it. I didn't lie. You did. You lied every night that you came into this house at 6:30. What do you mean you didn't lie? She presses her hands tight to her head. I can't stand this. I really can't. If it's starting all over again, the lying and the disappearing for hours, the covering up, I won't stand it. What is the it? If it's starting all over again, I won't stand it.
Maybe what he's doing for suicide attempt.
Well, and so this is not the way to go about handling that, right? Does that seem safe? Don't then, he snarls. Go to Europe, why don't you? Go to hell. Ooh. Con. But he backs away from Cal's hand. Listen, don't give me that. The only reason you care, the only reason you give a fuck about it is because someone else knew about it first. You never wanted to know anything I was doing or anything I wasn't doing. You just wanted me to leave you alone. I left you alone, didn't I? I could have told you lots of things. Like up at the hospital, there were rats. Big ones up on 3 with the hopeless nuts, but that's okay. See, I was down on 2 with the heads and the unsuccessfuls. Con, shut up. Stop it. Damn it, he says. Tell her to stop it. You never tell her a goddamn thing. Listen, I know why she never came out there. Not once. He got one letter the whole time that he was there. One letter. And it was from a friend. And his mother never came to see him once. I know. Hell, she was going to goddamn Spain and goddamn Portugal. Why should she care if I was hung up by the goddamn balls out there? Christ, that's enough. He takes a swift, sobbing breath, fixing them both with a look of utter fury. And then he's gone, his feet pounding up the stairs. Moments later, the shattering slam of his bedroom door. Beth has her back to Cal, her hands clutching at her head. I won't. I won't. He goes to her, puts his arms around her. Her body is stiff. She's trembling, but she does not relax against him. What happened? He asks. What the hell happened? I don't know. Somebody better go up there. Cal says that. Cal says somebody better go up there. Does that, what do you think of that? What do you make of that?
Wants her to go up there.
Do you think he wants her to go up there?
Yeah. Otherwise, he'd say, I'll go up there.
Okay. Oh, man. Man! Go, she says. Go ahead. That's the pattern, isn't it? Let him walk all over us, then go up there and apologize to him. I'm not going up to apologize. Yes, you are. You always do. You've been apologizing to him ever since he came home. Beth, Christ's sake, lay off, will you? I feel like I've been at a goddamn tennis match tonight. Back and forth, back and forth. Don't talk to me like that. She twists violently away from him. Don't talk to me like he talks to you. He grabs her, holds her, his cheek colliding with her skull, hard. I'm sorry, he murmurs. I'm sorry. Let's not fight. He rocks her in his arms gently, and her hands are up between them, clenched into fists on his chest. She lets him hold her, but only for a moment. Let's go upstairs, he says. No, you go. He wants you. He wants somebody who's going to accept everything he does without question, without criticism. And you think that's what I do. I know it is. I think, he says cautiously, that there might have been a better way to handle this. Oh, I'm sure of it. Her voice is bitter. For openers, he could have come to us and told us the truth. No, I meant tonight. I know what you meant. You see, everything he does is all right, perfectly understandable, and everything I do is mixed up and wrong and could have been handled a better way. That's not true. That's not what I'm trying to say. His nerves are raw. His eyes feel as if they've sunk back into his head, pulling the flesh down. Beth, please, let's just go upstairs. No, I will not be pushed, she says. She moves away from him to stand before the window, looking out. Calmly, she says, I will not be manipulated. What is she afraid of being manipulated into? What is she afraid of? He stands looking over her head at the black window, then at the tree with its strings of lights dangling loose from the branches, disjointed, unfinished. All right, he says, I'm going. She does not turn around, nor does she make a sign that she's heard him. Conrad lies face down on the bed, his body outlined in the light from the hall. One hand covers the back of his neck, the other is limp at his side. Cal moves to the nightstand and snaps on the light. I want to talk to you. I need to sleep, he groans. His voice is muffled in the pillow. Let me sleep. In a minute. He pulls the chair over from the desk and sits beside the bed. Outside the window, heavy flakes of snow splatter and stick fast to the glass, sliding down to make miniature hills and valleys at the lower edge of the sill. First, I give a damn, he says, about everything you do. Conrad's head jerks on the pillow. He rolls onto his back, shielding his eyes with his arm. I didn't mean that, he says. I didn't mean any of it. I'm sorry. Please, don't be mad. I'm not mad, Cal says. I'm just trying to figure out what happened down there. I don't know what happened. This is about that brain development. So often there are these events in our lives. We just can't quite figure out what we're doing sometimes. I don't know. I'm sorry about everything. Can't we talk about it tomorrow, Dad, please? I feel lousy tonight. Everything is shit. Listen, I didn't mean to say any of that. You tell her, will you? Tell her I'm sorry. So this failure to communicate continues. Why don't you tell her? No, God, I can't. I can't talk to her. Why not? Abruptly, he sits up, clasping his arms about his knees. His eyes are dry. There's a red crease along his cheek. He wipes his mouth nervously, staring at the window. Because it won't make any difference? What do you mean? It won't change anything. It won't change the way she feels about me. Con, she was upset tonight. She was angry. No, I don't mean tonight. What then? But he shakes his head. No, I can't. Everything's jello and pudding with you, Dad. I can't. You don't see things. What things? He continues to stare out the window at the snow, rocking slightly back and forth, his arms clenched around his knees. What things? Cal asks gently. I want you to tell me. His eyes flick over to Cal's face, instantly flick away. All right, then. She hates me. There's nothing I can do about it. His voice is curt and flat, without hope. Something terribly wrong. He stares out the window now, too, thinking of last year, and Mr. Knight calling him at the office with the grade reports. Something terribly wrong here, Mr. Jarrett. Straight A student dropping to D's and E's in 3 months' time? I wonder what an E is. What is an E? Most of the papers are not completed, tests with half the answer spaces blank, tests not handed in at all. Cal had asked him, why didn't you tell me you were in trouble? Conrad said, I'm not in trouble. I'm passing, aren't I? D is passing. And he had tried to be gentle, knowing that something was terribly wrong. It's not a matter of passing, Con. Going from A to D like this, it doesn't make sense. And they had looked at each other over the words. What makes sense? Conrad, he says, that's ridiculous. Your mother does not hate you. Okay. All right, you're right. Please. Let me go to bed now. He jumps up and goes to the closet, stripping off his shirt. What do you think of this Dr. Berger? Cal asks. He tries to keep his voice calm, neutral. Do you think he's helping you? Dad, don't blame it on Berger. It isn't his fault. He stands facing the closet door. He does not undress any further, and Cal knows he's waiting for him to leave. The snow piled high against the windows seals them inside its softness, its silence. So it's more than just rain or snow. So this is actually just about perfect timing. We're going to end with an exit ticket. So folks at home, if you would go to the discussions and engage with that discussion, and you folks in the room, you'll put it on an index card for me. I want you to think about all of the conflicts that we've got going on, internal and external. internal and external. Put your name on it. And what do you believe is the most important conflict in the novel up to this point? And then any questions that you have about the novel. What are you wondering?